Welcome to Aligned Christ-Centered Yoga. My name is Linda and I'll be guiding our practice today. My question for you today is, how at peace are you? In the last month, I have programmed and led a camping retreat and 2 lock-ins for the youth ministry that God gave me to direct. I am also teaching yoga for you and out in town. In addition to that, we are getting ready to completely remodel the back end of our house. So with all of that, it's been very easy for me to get caught up in worry over the next thing that's coming. You know, can I do it well enough? Can I honor the commitments that I've made? Am I living up to the expectations of others? Am I living up to the expectations of Jesus? And in all of that, the scripture verse, "My peace I leave with you," kept coming through. And so I went to my Bible to see where it was, and it is in John 14. And Jesus says this. He says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you." But here's the thing. He gives them to us. He gives it to his disciples in the last weeks of his life. He gives it to them as he is telling them that he is leaving them. And he says, "I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." Today, as we enter into this practice of peace, I would encourage you to let go of expectations of how things are supposed to be, to let go of expectations of yourself, of others, to let go of whatever expectations you have laid on God. Today, we're going to be doing an inner thigh practice. So we'll be opening ourselves up to whatever it is that God has for us, trusting that he is giving us the peace that we need for whatever tasks lay before us. Find a comfortable sitting position up on a block or a prop, just lifting your hips a few inches above the floor. And today I would invite you to cross your legs in front of you. It may not look like this. It may look more like this. It doesn't matter. Just trying here to find a sitting position where we are beginning to release through the inner thighs and the groin area. Go ahead and take 2 fingers to the hip crease. Gently press into that crease. And then taking both hands, gently bring the muscle of the thigh to the outside and towards the knee. And the same thing on the other side. Bring hands lightly to your lap. Closing your eyes, begin to find a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. And inhale down the body and exhale up the body. And as you inhale, create dimension. Inhale into the lungs and the rib cage and the diaphragm. And exhale, drawing the belly in, softening the rib cage, emptying the lungs. So often, simply slowing down and taking the time to breathe deeply can begin to center us, draw us closer to the Father, and help us to find the peace that we are looking for. Today, as we inhale and exhale, we're going to create a box breath. So inhale and then hold your breath for the same number of counts it took you to inhale. So maybe you inhale on the count of 4, hold for 4. Exhale for 4, hold for 4. So that deep breath in, holding, deep breath out, holding, and do 3 more sequences of that at your own pace. As you continue to breathe, notice the effect on the body that this breath has. Where do you feel a little bit of softening? Notice the effect it has on your mind. Can you let go of all of the things of today and tonight? Finding yourself fully present on the mat. As you're ready, smooth out the breath. Just a simple deep breath in, deep breath out. And begin to notice how this breathing sequence has changed the way that you feel. The next breath in, bring the arms up and overhead, palms together. And as you exhale, bring the hands down and begin to connect breath and movement. And lead with breath. So the inhale guides those arms up and the exhale draws those arms down. And then as you breathe in, draw the gaze up as well. And as you exhale, tuck your chin. And 2 more times here. As you're ready, one more time, bring those arms all the way up, palms together, and exhaling, hands to heart, bowing your head. Just offering up to God anything that you need to let go of in the moment, any worries, anything weighing heavily on your shoulders today. Let the hands come down, come up off the block, and bring your right leg out to the side in front of you. Bring that left leg in, and if you find that this leg is very tight and is lifted, the bent leg, you can prop it up on a block. Take a deep breath in, come forward and back over that straight leg. Maybe 2 more times, still connected to breath. Exhaling forward, inhaling back. And then come forward and just settle wherever you want the stretch to be. Tension, but not struggle. And maybe that hip crease reaches back just a little bit more. Maybe that heel pushes a little bit forward. And let the back of the head come a little heavier to the mat. As you're ready, press into your hands and release. Bring that leg behind you. Begin to lift and lower this front leg. So just lubricating the hip joint. Add a motion of the body like a wave. So drop your head and your shoulders and your rib cage. And a couple more times here, noticing any sensations in the back, in the hips, and in the leg. As you're ready, let that leg come down and hands over the leg, fold the body down. Support your head, so use a prop if that's better for you. And stay here for 2 breaths. As you inhale, find a little more length in the spine. As you exhale, a little more heaviness in the body. Press into the hands and rise up. And switch your legs so that your left leg is now extended in front. Again, providing support for this right leg if the leg is bent and is not resting on the floor. Exhaling forward, inhaling back. 2 more times here. Your breath, your pace. As you're ready, settle forward. Just check in, maybe comparing the sensations on this side to the other side. Noticing what is the same, noticing what is different. Can the head get a little bit heavier? As you're ready, press into the hands and come up. Go ahead and bring that leg behind you. Lift and lower the front leg, rocking back and forth, massaging out the glutes. And then as you're ready, let the body come over the leg. And let the leg come down and settle the body over the leg. So again, supporting the head, maybe on your hands or fists, maybe a block. And again, adjusting the pose with breath. One more breath here. As you're ready, press into your hands and rise up. Bring both feet in front of you. This is where I need blocks. Again, as the legs are bent, supporting the legs with the blocks if you need to. Draw the feet into that place where you find the tension in the inner thigh and the groin, but where you can still sit straight up on those sitting bones. No pulling, just getting comfortable with the tension. And then begin to lean forward from the hips. So I'm not rounding over and dropping my head. My spine is long and straight, and I'm leaning forward. As you hold on maybe to your feet, you can give yourself a little bit of a foot massage at the arch there, just going from the top of the heel to the base of that foot pad. One more breath here. Gently press into the hands and come up. Bring the knees together, come forward, blocks to the front of the mat, meet me in table. Warming up through the back a little bit. Knees are hip width apart, wrists are underneath the shoulders. Breathe into cat, breathe into cow. So you're just going to exhale as you find that cat. Inhale as you find your cow. Notice any tender places in the back, in the hips, even in the shoulders, wrists, elbows, knees. And give yourself permission to modify your practice to accommodate those tight places. One more time, cat to cow. Meet me back at table. Gently draw hips back, hips to heels, find child's pose. Come back up into table. One more time here, child to table. From table, bring your big toes together, your knees out to the side. Draw your hands forward and begin to sink the rib cage towards the mat, hips still above thighs, hip creases reaching towards the ceiling, head heavy and down. Let the arms get heavy as well. Maybe you can find a stretch here, inner thigh and groin. So just notice how that feels, adjust accordingly, and find breath. One more breath here. Notice the curve of the spine. Notice how that feels. Pressing into your hands, bring your hands underneath your shoulders. One knee in and then the other, meeting me in table. Curl the toes underneath, knees to rib cage. Find that first downward facing dog. Back of the head reaching to the mat. Shake your head out no and yes. And then engaging through those abdominals, begin to pedal through your feet. Move the hips side to side. On the next inhale, heels rise. On the next exhale, heels draw down towards the mat. How does downward facing dog feel? One more breath here. On the next inhale, the right leg rises high. Draw the gaze forward and the foot will come all the way forward. Hands to either side of your foot. Blocks are optional on either side of your foot. Lift and lower that back knee. Begin to find the stretch in the psoas muscle in the front of the hip. And as you're ready, just extend that back leg. Drop that left hip down just a little bit. How much length can you find from shoulder to hip and hip to heel? And then gently let that knee drop down. Hands come to the inside of the mat. Begin to drop in so that the upper arm is pressing against the inside of that leg. And maybe this is where you stay and this is enough. If you're flexible, if you have props, maybe you can drop down a little bit. Forearms to the blocks. If you're very flexible, maybe forearms go all the way to the mat. Can you find the traction as the arm presses into the leg and the leg presses into the arm? Press into the hands and rise up. Toe heel that leg to center. Raise the back leg. Bring the front foot to the back. Meet me in plank. Find a strong plank. And then drop the knees down and keep the strength as you come down in that kneeling plank. Forearms to the side of the mat. Come in and out of Sphinx a few times. Just exploring what's going on as you start your back bends. As you're ready, rise into Sphinx. Press the forearms down, the tops of the feet down. Find a deep breath here. Exhale, hands to rib cage. Meet me in downward facing dog. Let the back of the head come to the mat. Left leg rises high. Now the gaze comes forward. Crunch as the foot comes in between the hands. If it doesn't get there, just help it out. Maybe blocks come to either side of the foot. That back knee drops and lifts. As you're ready, that back leg rises high. Begin to drop into that right hip just a little bit. So again, how much length can you find? Shoulder to hip, hip to heel. Bring that back knee down, toe heel that front foot out just a little bit. Wrists underneath shoulders, that front foot angled slightly to the outside of the mat. Find your stretch. Is this enough for you? Do you want a little more intensity? Maybe you come down to your forearms. So again, just exploring it, easing into it, finding the stretch that's right for you. Find breath. And notice where else you might be holding tension. I'm gripping my hands pretty tightly here. Can you relax as the hands press into each other? Shoulders towards hips instead of towards ears. Maybe soften the jaw. Hands to the block, rise up. Bring that foot to the center. Lift the back leg, float the front to the back. Find a strong plank. Maybe you come down in a kneeling plank, maybe chaturanga. Find a back bend, maybe upward facing dog, just on the tops of the feet and the hands. Curling toes under, meet me in downward facing dog. On the next inhale, right leg rises high. Gaze comes forward, foot comes all the way through, rise up into lunge. Gently bring that right hand to the small of the back, left arm across, find your twist. And as you're ready, pivot into warrior two. Draw the back arm down, reach up, come over, side angle bend, back and forth here. Two more times. Release and just find the warrior. From here, straighten and bend the front leg. One more time here. And then as the arms come up, bring the foot forward, hands to hips, forward fold. Hello. And let your head just drop and lift, and notice any sensations underneath the legs. And stay here for a couple of breaths. Gently turn the toes out and begin to gently lunge side to side. And can you keep those knees reaching towards the back edge of the mat? So as you're ready, settle into the stretch. Bring that right hand to the inside of that right leg. Hold it there. And then just pivot towards the front again. Front leg to the back. Meet me in plank. And from plank, come down to the mat. Find your back bend. And meet me in downward facing dog. On that next inhale, bring the left leg up, let it rise high. As the gaze comes forward, bring the foot all the way through your hands. Rise up into your lunge. Left hand to the small of the back, right arm comes across. Find your twist. And in the twist, engage the abdominals, soften the rib cage. Exhale those abdominals, wrapping around towards the spine. And then release, arms rise, and pivot into warrior two. So that front foot reaching towards the front edge of the mat, the back arm drops. Come all the way across, side angle bend, back and forth here. Are you moving with your breath? So one more time. Meet me back in warrior two. Come in and out of warrior two. Final time. Bring the arms up, straighten out the legs. Toes to me, hands to hips. forward fold. And again, turn the toes out to the corners of the mat. Gently go side to side. Back and forth here. Next time, just leave that knee over the ankle in the front. Bring that left hand to the inside of the leg. Begin to settle into the stretch. Find breath. One more breath here. Pivot towards the front, toes face to the front. Back foot rises to meet the front. Find your forward fold, first forward fold of the day. Shake your head out, no and yes. Rib cage touching thighs. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhale down. Inhale, come all the way up. Hands to heart. Stay here for 2 breaths. Deep breath in, arms rise, exhale, forward fold. Hands to shins, body rises up halfway, exhale down. Find plank. From plank, find your way to the mat and into your back bend. And curl the toes under and meet me in downward facing dog. On the next inhale, right leg rises high. Gaze comes forward, foot comes all the way through. Bring the block to the inside of the foot, preparing for triangle pose. Rise up into the lunge, pivot into your warrior. Come into peaceful warrior. Come into side angle bend. Reach all the way forward as far as you can. Stack your hips. Rotate that back thigh to that wall behind you, a little extra weight in the outside edge of that foot. Arm reaches high, hand comes down. Straighten out that front leg. Find your triangle pose. So maybe you can be an unsupported triangle, or maybe your block is a tower. Wherever you are, find that stretch in the inner thigh. Lunge that front leg forward, come into peaceful warrior. Pivot all the way around, move the block out of the way. Bring the back foot up to meet the front. Forward fold. Hands to shins, come up halfway, exhale down, pushing through the feet, come all the way up. Hands to heart, find breath. Deep breath in, arms rise, exhale, forward fold. Hands to shins, come up halfway, exhale down, one leg back and then the other, find plank. And again, however you choose to do it, kneeling, plank, chaturanga, Sphinx or low cobra or upward facing dog, meeting me in downward facing dog. One more breath here. Pressing thighs to that back wall, letting the rib cage drop another inch, draw towards the thighs. Deep breath in, left leg rises high. Gaze comes forward, foot comes all the way through. Place the block in the inside of the leg, come all the way up and pivot. Drop that back arm into peaceful warrior as the front arm rises over. Body facing the wide edge of the mat. Come over into side angle bend. So the forearm is on the thigh and you are reaching and stretching and the gaze is up. And then as you're ready, the arm comes up and the hand comes down to the block. From here, begin to straighten out that leg. And adjust the pose, stacking hips, one hip on top of the other. that back thigh wrapping around towards the wall behind you. And adjust. Maybe there's no weight on the block and you're in an unsupported triangle. Maybe the block is higher. What's right for you? As you're ready, lunge that front knee forward and come back, peaceful warrior. And this time, come to warrior two. Turn the feet to the wide edge of the mat and bring the hands to the hips. Again, forward fold, pressing into the hip crease. Notice where you go. Move the block out of the way. Let the hands come center and the top of the head down. Again, just checking in, noticing the way that the legs feel, the way that the back feels. We're going to move into a yoga squat. So just walk your feet in a little bit. They are wider than your hips. Toes are still facing out. If you're very tight, you may end up with a block behind you. You may want a block behind you so that as you come into this, you can drop your hips to the block. So just drop your hips down to wherever they go. Bring the arms to the inner thighs. Hands together at heart. Can you straighten up the spine a little bit more? Can you find breath? Can you draw the navel in and up? Knit the ribcage together, draw it down, find a base of support at the bottom of your throat. One more breath here. Let those hands come down, put a little weight into the hands, slowly lift the hips. Walk those feet out a little bit wider. Let the toes come to the outside edges of the mat. Gentle lunge side to side. And just pivot around to the front of the mat. Front foot comes to the back. Meet me in plank. From plank, draw the knees down, child to table twice. As you're ready, meet me in child and stay there. And I invite you today to play with maybe taking those legs a little bit wider, just whatever feels good. Let the forehead be heavy on the mat. And just massage your forehead out side to side. Find breath. This practice that you did today was a little challenging. And yet, do you feel a little more peaceful than when you began? The peace of Christ doesn't necessarily come with the stillness in our world. It comes with our ability to access His peace, no matter what our situation is. Can you accept the gift of His peace today? Press into your hands and rise up. Come over to the side. Bring your feet forward. And come down onto your back. Knees bent. Heels in, hands on your knees, toes together, big toes stay together. Circle your knees out and draw them back into the rib cage. Back and forth here a few times. And go the other direction. And then as you're ready, just let your feet come down to the mat. Bring your arms out to the side. And bring your heels together and your knees out in butterfly. From here, bring the arms all the way up to the ceiling. Reach as high as you can, palms together. Let the shoulders thump down. Do that twice more. Let the hands come down to the hips, palms up. Find breath here. Feel gravity gently opening up the legs a little bit more. Gently drawing the knees down towards the earth. Feel the way that your body is connected to the mat. The back of your head, shoulder blades, middle back, hips. Take 3 more deep breaths here. Hands underneath the legs, gently bring the legs up, the knees together. This time, knees together, draw the knees into the rib cage and away from the body. Back and forth here, just restoring a natural arch to your lower back. Bring the feet down and extend the legs long. Maybe windshield wiper your feet a couple times and bop your knees and wiggle your hips side to side. Let the shoulder blades go heavy to the mat and find Shavasana, this final pose of peace and quiet. As you enter in today, I'm going to read you from my book, All Along You Were Blooming. Find moments between breaths, between midnight and morning, when no one is speaking and no one is singing, but God-sent love is breathing. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. Holding on to the promise of Jesus, reconnect with your breath. Begin to notice the way that your body has settled onto the mat. Gently bring movement back, wiggling fingers and toes, rotating wrists and ankles, turning your head side to side. On that next inhale, arms reach up and overhead and just stretch as long as you can. Fingers to one wall, toes to the other. Reach right fingertips and left toes, left fingertips and right toes. And as you're ready, draw your knees in, roll over onto your side, support your head with your ear, support your head with your arm, and find breath. On that next inhale, press into your hands, eyes still closed. Come up to a seated position, finding your sitting bones. Checking in one final time. Body, mind, and soul. What has changed since you came to the mat today? What has stayed the same? Accepting it as it is. On the next inhale, arms rise high, palms together. Exhaling, hands to heart. Gently bowing your head, joining me in prayer. Father, we are so grateful for your peace. This peace that comes in the midst of chaos, this peace that comes in the midst of busyness, this peace that comes in the midst of heart-wrenching tragedy and trauma. Father, as we go forward, let us be instruments of your peace. It is in the name of Jesus the Christ that we pray. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today. Go in peace.